All right. I think we still got a couple of people going on. I'm just going to run through some logistics. So thanks again for taking some time out to join us today. I know you got a lot going on. I'm happy to be here with Will Jonas, one of our amazing product managers. Will, how you doing today?
Good, Pete. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. We have a pretty full agenda, so we're going to get started fairly quickly. Just some notes. This is going to be recorded and will be available afterwards for you to review and to share with your colleagues. If you have questions along the way, please use the chat function. We will be curating those questions as we go and address them and leave some time at the end if there's some more dialogue. So what's on tap? As you can see, it's a pretty full agenda. We're going to walk through, we've been talking about Address Genius. We're going to talk a little bit about what the opportunity there is for everybody and how we can help. Also give an update on some of the automations bundles that we have rolled out over the past year. There's always new things coming, as well as what's coming later on this quarter. We're going to give you a sneak peek of some of that, ask you some questions, as well as we're excited to roll out this week platform certification program so that it's a formal certification process to help folks learn how to use the platform to its fullest, and then talk a little bit about where we're going to be out in the marketplace. So with that, let's jump into Address Genius. So, well, I think you can go to the next slide. You know, we deal with the customers in the market and a lot of different opportunities. We've been hearing this for many years, right, about addresses. What are some of the things that you've run into talking to customers that's really kind of put this as like a serious problem or pain?
Yeah, I think everyone on here can probably attest to this, is that it is a problem for everyone. It's not just the source of the data that becomes an issue, but it's the management of that data, having to try to validate, standardize, geocode, reverse geocode, clean up, all these things that really uh, build into a fabric of good quality addresses. Is just always a real challenge. We hear it constantly. Anyone who's done data migrations or trying to sync addresses between systems, if you're trying to tie in things like your OSS, BSS, and or construction management systems that have to rely on that information, there's just always differing data sources and differing kind of sets that you have to comb through. And I think the thing that we always really see is how that can really carry over and throughout the network life cycle, right? It's that it's not just a problem in planning and design. It starts there, but it really, snowballs. It has this kind of snowball effect where it builds over time, and you're kind of constantly battling it as you get into provisioning and troubleshooting and all the other marketing, demand gen, all these other places that rely on, just good quality data.
Yeah, it seems like such a fundamental um, data point that should be manageable, but between the different systems and the different functional areas, trying to deal with this problem, it's just been a mess for not just for our customers, for a lot of the BSS OSS partners that we speak with.
Yeah, and we've been thinking about this for a long time. It's a big challenge to try to go after, but what we've done with this is we're trying to automate the workflow and to the extent it can be, right? We're trying to do the validation and the standardization for you, but then also really give you that high level overview of the quality of the address, things like scoring that we can kind of come up with these different calculations to really flag areas of concern. And I always go back to this story where, I was on LinkedIn one day and I saw one of our customers was hiring they literally posted a job about an address manager. And I reached out and I was like, what is this? And I met with them and they were hiring someone just to do this job. That was going to be their primary responsibility because they were having so many, truck rolls to areas with problem addresses, but they didn't know down the street there were more, and it just was becoming a real mess for them. So with this tool, it's not necessarily about, removing the need for someone to help manage this, but it's about empowering them with, much faster, much more efficient workflows to really be able to leverage the pipeline and what we've developed to get quick answers and to really highlight the areas that need attention, as well as the areas that are good and are ready to, send off to your other systems.
So with that, let's go to the next slide. We can start unveiling how we're approaching this problem, right? So as you mentioned, the data that we preserve and maintain supports a lot of different business and operational processes and systems. And this is really bringing the address data object into the fold, right? Being part of that managed element that is now orchestratable across the organization. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is just kind of highlighting what we were just said. Like it's part of every, it's touched by so many different parts of your life cycle and so many parts of your organization. So many departments rely on really this clean data set to do their jobs efficiently and to not, waste time and go down these rabbit holes of trying to solve these difficult problems with validation and things. So yeah, this is just really highlighting that and how this, you know, by giving a better solution, you really can start to knock these things off the list as being really problems for your organization. If you start with good data, it's going to persist throughout, and that's just a real advantage throughout all these different touch points.
Yeah, how about the next slide?
Yep.
So
Yeah,
one of those, yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, so one of the parts of that is obviously that we hear a lot about is MDU management and just MDU awareness, right? People are trying to understand their home's past, their serviceable market. Um, they have, a lot of sources of data don't have really good qualifications for MDUs or flags for MDUs. So again, part of this tool that we've developed is giving you easy ways to identify those visually and also based off the data. We make a pass at that based off, is there a unit? Is there some subunit in the information that we can kind of take our best guess and determine, yeah, this is likely an MDU. And if we miss it, just the visualization and the ability to say, oh, well, these look like MDUs, I can see that, and I can quickly flag them and link them. And then once you do that, you get a lot of benefits of, having that relationship established between that parent and child, for kind of best practices for design and so on throughout the life cycle.
What other dimensions are we looking at?
So the other things we're looking at, this is kind of a high level overview of the pipeline we've developed. So, at a high level, we ingest this address data that can be from a variety of different sources.
Okay.
We can then parse that information out, do things like we mentioned, flag duplicates, rate or score the addresses, identify possible MDUs, and then give you kind of that user interface to manage that information and to, you know, not only understand it, but say, okay, well, this looks great, this looks clean. I want to then promote that to VETRO fiber map. So that's another benefit of this tool is that it's built in our platform stack, so it integrates right out of the box with your design layers and the information that you then need to go do something with once you have kind of a clean data set.
So this is a look behind the curtain and kind of the high level flow of what we're doing. I mean, I think
Yeah,
everyone's
exactly.
familiar.
And yeah, exactly. And we're using industry standards criteria to parse and process and score these, geocode, things like that. So we are bouncing these things off, third-party sources to make sure that we have, good, clean, sound information at your disposal.
Yeah, the question popped up, how much can the end user manipulate how this addresses are being transformed? So right now we're proposing this process, but is there a way to tailor it to specific users?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we would want to understand a little bit more and work with the customer on. And, we have kind of our standard schema, standard formatting that we're using, and we're looking, we've gotten some feedback on trying to expand that into like, also support things like USPS and these other formatting standards. So that's certainly something that we're interested in learning more and diving in more with the customers based off their needs. So that's kind of part of the process when customers reach out and are interested in this, understanding, what are they doing today? What are they doing today that we could leverage and kind of have a conversation about that.
Okay. How about the next slide?
Yep.
So I think we talked a little bit this already, right? So not only are we helping with the initial verification and cleanup of the addresses, but once it's tied into the platform, which is then connected to your OSS, BSS, your billing, your CRM, construction management, other systems, through the automations that we have, we're able to preserve and orchestrate and share that data point over time across those systems.
Yeah, exactly. It's just kind of the ability to, once you start to leverage other outside systems, the importance of it not only gets amplified, but the value gets amplified too, right? You're starting with the same information, you're starting with the same data set. You can have confidence that, your OSS, BSS, and your construction management system and your fiber management system with VETRO are all talking and are all understanding the same information and keeping it in sync as well. So we have ways to, of course, like share ID values between those systems, maintaining, that linkage, ensuring that, if one thing gets updated, it fires off a webhook to make sure the other system's aware of that. So it just can really help, throughout that process, whether it's, going into new serving areas or, acquisition and mergers is always a big complicated problem, right? Where you have to combine all these other data sets and, maybe there's a bunch of duplicate or crossover between serving areas that you need to understand, kind of who has what. So all these things, play into this tool and really it's about empowering those users with a really clean workflow to answer those questions, quickly and efficiently and identify the problem areas is a big part of that.
All right, so that's good background. How about we take a look at what we got?
Yeah, so I've got a video here that I'll just kind of talk over. I'll pause it if I'm kind of getting behind, but again, just wanted to kind of highlight the actual tool. So here you can see this is Address Genius. So you'll see we got a bunch of addresses. You can see it's found in that left panel just below Fiber Map. I've got this normalized address and the source address and these quality scores and all these different flags for MDUs and duplicates. And the big thing to kind of call out here is that, I didn't have to do any of this. It was just literally send this CSV through a pipeline. The pipeline does everything for you. It normalizes all those addresses, what you see here. But it also maintains kind of the source of what it came from. So you get a good idea of where it started and what we did to clean it. And then obviously you have, other tools at your disposal. You have filtering options and, you'll see that this view kind of filters in this part of the application. It really filters based off my viewport. So as I zoom to a smaller area, I get even a better view of what's there. And from there, I can actually toggle back to a more traditional kind of tabular data-centric view. So here, again, I've got my entire data set at my disposal, and I can do things like, filter and find, here I'm finding a test quality score of less than 75, right? So I'm trying to find the ones that maybe we flagged that aren't that good. And you can see right away, the reason it flagged it is because the street or the city names didn't match. If I scroll down here, I can even see that, some of these didn't have zip codes and we were able to find the zip code and geocode it correctly. So again, the key here is just highlighting that, you have all this data, you have all this information, but what can you do with it? How can you understand it quickly and efficiently to really flag these problem areas in your network or in your planning of your network? And so that's a really beneficial part of this kind of more data-centric view. If I go back, sorry, I think I lost my spot when I hit pause.
Yeah, I just had a question on the duplicate column there. So what does that mean, that a clean address already exists in the database? Is that what we're saying?
So the duplicate column is really looking for duplicates. So it's trying to find matches where, yeah, you already have an address that exists.
Okay.
You've loaded in another one. So like say you're combining data sources, multiple different data sources, there's probably crossover there and they might have different formatting. So it's trying to identify ones that, hey, we think this is a duplicate. We're not sure, but we're going to flag it as such. And then, what I'll show kind of next is we've built kind of these preset tools that let you, I'm just going to skip a little because I got out of sync when I hit pause. So again, I'm just showing that missing zip code here. And then next, I'm going to show kind of what you can do with those duplicates. So up here in the all, I'll let my clear this filter out, and then I'm gonna go to this drop down, and I'm actually going to show just the duplicates in this set. So here I can really get even a smaller view of, okay, what are duplicates? And you can see some of them, like that first one I clicked. Oh, that's not a duplicate. For some reason that got flagged as one, but I just want to mark those as not duplicates so I can easily clean those up and say, these are real addresses. And then here it's like, oh, this looks like an actual duplicate. And so I can resolve that. The nice thing about this is we've got like hotkeys built in to the product where you can just kind of tab through. You can merge this, or you can say, I like the original address, or I like the duplicate address. So it gives you a lot of flexibility to resolving these, and really just trying to highlight the differences that you can go through and ensure that, the address you end up with is the format and the information that you want and that is correct. So like here's a good example where the city was missing a letter, so it got flagged, and we just want to say, well, we know it's Grand Forks and not Gand Forks. And so that's some of the duplicate management that's possible in Address Genius. You've also got, so I've gone back to the map view to just kind of highlight some of the bulk selection tools. I don't go into a lot of these, but I just want to kind of show what you can do. First, I'm doing a move. So if something is in the wrong geolocation and you know that it's not in the right place, you can just do a simple drag. So we've got some basic kind of GIS tools at your disposal to clean up just the locations of that data, as well as select some in bulk. So here I'm going to use this bulk select, similar to what everyone's familiar with, our lasso tool. And I'm going to select those. And from here, I could do a variety of things. I could bulk assign them and say, these are MDUs. I could bulk send them over to VETRO if I needed to. Or in some cases, if they were flagged as duplicates, I could analyze those kind of at a larger scale. So not showing that anything specifically, but just wanted to kind of call it out. Here's what it looks like in VETRO Fiber Map. So this is a service location, or this is an address that's been promoted to a service location. So you can see we have an address tab. Real quick, I kind of went over that fast. Let me just rewind it a little. Because I did want to call out, we're not overriding any of the existing address data. So you wanted to call that out. Like we're not, if you have existing address data in your service location layers, we're not going to, destroy that. That's going to be maintained. We're really making addresses like a proper first-class citizen in VETRO. So you have this tab, but they have this link between the two applications, so you can see that they're related, and you can see that this thing is already an Address Genius, and you've promoted it to your system. So that's just kind of what I'm going through there. And then we've got quick links to kind of navigate back and forth. I think the last thing that really I was going to show, let's see, maybe I was just doing another edit here. I skipped through some of that. Oh yeah, the last thing I want to show is this is just the process for linking those. So previously I clicked one that was already linked, but that's just the process for actually linking and sending and promoting an address over to the service location. So
Okay.
just highlighting that you can do that really easily.
So I know a lot of this is kind of behind the curtain. It's hard to see, right? So essentially what you're showing us is we're ingesting some CSV file or Excel file and it's running it through this pipeline. We're doing this analysis against the databases on our logic that we have, presenting the data in a format which is really, I think, very usable, right? Because most of that's probably happening on a spreadsheet external to everything else, right? You got to do all that cleanup, then re-import it and do the assignments within the platform, right? So we're kind of merging those two together and giving folks quick and easy editable tools to find duplicates, to assign service locations, to clean up any other addresses that may need further cleaning. Is that right?
Yep, 100%. And just the last thing I want to show here, again, I'm just kind of showing the highlighting back and forth, the ability to quickly navigate. So we do have the ability to create and import. So this is really critical, I think, especially during like an implementation phase. this is something we can help with. So, for those that are, purchasing this, we can actually, export out all your service locations because they're tagged with that VETRO ID. We can then re-import them and really create that link right during that process. So if you are comparing, multiple data sets, this becomes super beneficial when, kind of onboarding this process. Those addresses are going to normalize, or we're going to still validate all the existing attribution and information that you have. And then it's going to really give you a clean score or a score on the already existing network data for your address information. So you don't have to go back and copy things over and have to kind of do all this. That's something that we can really help with during the implementation process for those customers who, are concerned that they already have service locations with all this address information that maybe they've been cleaning up. But, this is a good tool to kind of do a quality check on that and make sure that, like, there's no missing information. There's, standardization across that. So this is a product that we have in the market. We have, several customers using it at this point. We are scheduling demos for it. So the feedback's been really great and we're really excited. The one thing I'll say is that, we're still evolving this. We're still working on different parts of the application and kind of still pushing, there, like things like formatting standards. We've had customers ask for USPS versus, um, maybe 911. So those are things that we're always kind of evaluating, trying to understand like what's the most valuable aspect of this for our customers. So would definitely suggest, if you are interested in this, to reach out to your account management team, your customer success team. We can get a demo scheduled and get this in front of you to have a conversation about how you would use it and leverage it. And then finally, just to kind of wrap that up, you do have the ability to just create new addresses if you need kind of the one-offs, right? If you need to um, add in just, something here and there, you have that ability to just create those and then promote them as well.
No, it's all. So there's a couple questions, a couple things. Well, there's a poll for everybody listening, just kind of get a gauge on how challenges currently is addressing it. So if you get a chance to answer that, we can share the results later, a little bit later on. There's a question about MDUs. So what is the methodology that we're using to identify MDUs? Because it's not always straightforward.
Yeah, so we try to analyze the information that's presented, obviously. So we're looking for, the pipeline's looking for key things like units, subunits, or just the information there that, would classically define an MDU. Obviously, that's not always there. So if it's not there, really it becomes like kind of a visual exercise of looking on the map and saying, well, these, two dots are right next to each other. I click they have an A and the B. Okay, I want to designate them as an MDU. So we definitely take a pass at trying to establish those MDUs during the pipeline and during the ingestion. But more importantly, we give you a tool to kind of rectify those if there's not the information available or if it doesn't pick up on that. So and by establishing those parent-child relationships, then when one update happens, it can trigger for all the different underlying childs or vice versa. So it's really important to kind of establish those links and carry that over into the fiber map application.
Yep. There's a question also about kind of limitations. So this is US based only currently.
Correct. Yep.
And the question is, are we bringing address data sets to the party, or are we using third party address database?
We're using third-party sources to kind of qualify and geocode and validate standardization. We've based this off, the international address standards that are out there. We have discussed things like USP, extending that to USPS standardization or 911. Has been a request that we've seen from customer early adopters. So those are things we're evaluating. And like I said, like this product is still, being worked on. We're still actively, looking for ways to improve it. So those are all conversations that we'd love to have with you if things like that are interesting or requirements. Definitely, that's part of kind of the demo and process for understanding what your needs are.
There's a question about geocoding. Will geocoding work in Canada?
Like I think you said, this is really only supported in the US right now. But again, we're interested in going and extending it into other areas like Canada or perhaps even the UK. Those are things that we've put on our roadmap. So we're still not with this initial launch, we're really focused on the US market, but those are certainly conversations we'd love to have for those customers in other areas to try to understand what are the needs there and what are the real challenges. I see there was one question like, can we utilize the 911 address database as a source? So we can't necessarily use the 911 standardization yet, but we could, if you had a CSV of addresses that came out of a 911 database and they had, all the necessary information, we could certainly, load that into the pipeline to get accurate kind of qualifications and scoring.
Yeah, thanks for that. So just keep things moving. We've got a pretty good view of how it works. Please raise your hand if you're interested in getting more of a personalized view. We can definitely do that. But one of the things we've been talking about are the automations and how now that we're able to clean up and preserve the address genius, how do we orchestrate across an enterprise and different systems? And that's really enabled by the use of automation. So let's just kind of take a step back and kind of reintroduce when we talk about automations, what are we trying to achieve here?
Yeah, so automations for us are really these standardized workflows and data integrations between VETRO fiber map and outside approved third-party systems. So, where we've made really significant gains here is really dictating and being um, an advisor to these outside systems of how to interact and automate with our product. In the past, we had partners and they kind of had to figure it out. Which, really is a burden in some cases to try to have to, understand all the intricacies of our API. So what we've done is we've really developed these standardized prepackaged APIs. We've released webhooks, so partners have access to webhooks that they can subscribe to for changes in our system, and also guidance. So we've launched a developer portal that they have access to, as well as they get a sandbox that they can use to kind of test some of their code. So this is really about removing the burden for those partners and in offering guidance for them. And this just ensures scalability and reliability when it comes down to it. Those are the two kind of most important things, right? You want to ensure that these integrations and automation scale, and you want to make sure that they're accurate and that there's no gaps in the data and that things are constantly flowing and talking. And so that's really was the goal with launching automations, is to take a more forward approach. And
Okay.
yeah, it also creates this nice like plug and play system integration that can be swapped out in the future because everything's standardized. There's no custom integrations between partners, and that's a big benefit. So if you do need to change something out, it's a much easier lift than in the past.
Yeah, no. So thanks for unpacking it. So where are we? What
Yeah, good question.
automations are available?
So these are our approved partners at this point in time. So from construction management, we've got Render, Site Tracker, and Vitruvi all on board. So these are approved automations with two-way data flow and syncing. So things like, being able to send a ready for construction design to your CMS, then get back those changes, that as-built information, and, really it gives you the ability to understand your service availability from a construction progress standpoint. This has been a really successful automation that customers are using. Everything here does flow through our change set interface. For those of you who have adopted mobile, you're very familiar with that. But that's also really important. It's not only about connecting these systems with scale and reliability, but it's about understanding what's coming back into your system of record and maintaining that data integrity. So by leveraging our change sets, you really start to kind of build out a change history, a backlog of information that's come back from these outside systems. And it doesn't mean every single thing has to be, necessarily manually approved. We have ways to automate that approval process as well, but it's really about logging and tracking all that information. And then from a OSS/BS, we have BSS, we have CDG, COOS, ETI, and Gaia are all officially on board and have a two-way integration, synchronization with this automation bundle. So again, things like we've mentioned, address synchronization between the systems, understanding the service availability status
Mm.
for things like provisioning, and then, providing them with that provisioning information so they can automate that on their side. So, really the trace from the service location back to the CO or to the remote or cabinet is critical in this. So again, it's a really simple workflow. We've again, we're always about trying to keep it simple. Like we don't need to send every little detail back and forth. It's
Mm.
really about like what moves the needle, what do you guys need to operate and really find success with these automations between these systems. That's really what we're focused on is the small kind of critical pieces of information that need to stay in sync.
So, so thanks for that. I mean, I think some of the great stuff we've done has been able to work with the customers and these partners to get away from hand-rolled bespoke integrations and really get to the matter. Like what do you need information? What information do you need when you need it, and how's the best way to get it to you and then return it? And I think that's really been the great conversation in the marketplace. If I'm a customer of VETRO and I don't see my BSS or my CMS vendor on this list, what can I do?
Well, you can let us know. I mean, this is an evolving list. I mean, we've added to this list just in the last few weeks. Consider, so we are engaging with these partners. But if I would say to reach out to your account management, your customer success team, and let us know if there's someone that you're trying to work with, and we can obviously start with conversations and get their development teams the information they need and see if they're interested. It is somewhat on them to kind of execute some of this. We try to provide as much help and guidance as we can. And overall, people have been really successful and really, quite quick once they kind of get on board and are willing to partner with us. They're able to push these things out. Obviously it depends on their timelines, but just from my history of doing custom integrations back at a previous job, it's, those things can really drag on and drag on. And so we've seen some really, really great approaches here by these partners and really, have allowed us to build out great relationships
And
through
it's not just that first initial build out, right? There's the maintenance of those things over time,
Sure,
which I think is
sure.
the next, burden that we're kind of alleviating. I
Yeah,
want,
and that is also part of the benefit of standardizing this thing. We're not going to just pull the rug out and change a lot of this stuff, without a lot of thought. The purpose of this is to keep it standard and stable and give them these ways to leverage this information consistently and without having to worry about somebody changing the name of a field somewhere or doing something that could cause havoc.
I want to go back to the change management part. If you go to the next slide, I know you kind of
Yeah.
call that out because I do think it's a critical, it's not just the orchestration, sending that data to be consumed by systems and stakeholders, right? And you and I did I think a webinar on preserving a network system of record a while back, which kind of dove into this more fully, but fat fingering, bad data from third party systems, all that stuff bleeds into, accidentally or just because of negligence into the system of record. And I think that's one of the strong things that we need to call out, that we've now created a pipeline both to ingest this and share this data, but also bringing it back from these third-party systems so that a single belly button can figure out how to control that and preserve the integrity of that network system of record.
Yeah, 100%. I think this is all about kind of that visibility and understanding, you're getting all these constant changes or you're, in the past you've had to upload them all or try to, do some funky kind of CSV or data upload or, spatial geometry upload. And this is really just about flagging that and really putting it in a user interface that you can manage it and understand it and build out that change backlog that you can really understand. And when you start to kind of go out to, the 30,000-foot view, it really can even highlight, deficiencies that you may have in your design or your construction process, right? If one serving area all of a sudden has 30 changes coming in, daily, where the one prior had very few. It can really highlight, well, what's going on here that was different previously. Why are we having to change and see all these different as-built changes, and not just building by as designed. So you can also leverage that information to kind of understand your efficiency, where you can gain efficiency with your processes.
So that's a lot to cover, but there's more to come. I know
Yeah.
you guys are always got stuff going on. So what's coming around the corner?
Yeah, hopefully not everyone's sick of hearing me talk yet. So yeah, this is me cooking up some new features of VETRO, courtesy of AI. Yeah, so we're we're working on a lot this quarter. I'll kind of go over that. What I'll say, kind of setting the stuff up, is that we're continually trying to push innovation and transform fiber network management. That is always our goal, but we're trying to do it with a powerful, intelligent, and simple to use system of record in VETRO Fiber Map. The upcoming things I'm going to go over, they're not just features. They're not just a feature here and a feature there. We're really trying to build out better workflows, understand where there are inefficiencies in the product, and give you better ways to do things. And in some cases, we'll be introducing new workflows that you can leverage for your network management. We're constantly trying to ensure that you have better workflows for designing, documenting, and optimizing your fiber infrastructure with efficiency. And I think really the gains here highlight our ability to leverage our advanced technology and connectivity model. We're always pushing and innovating there. We've got a really powerful underlying connectivity model. And what that allows us to do is really ask these like complex questions about your network and get really quick answers, and provide you with information to make better decisions. So, whether you're in the middle mile and doing backhaul or transport, or you're doing just pure distribution fiber to the home, these enhancements probably have applications across a lot of those use cases. And it's really about allowing, our network operators to document and manage and create this really powerful system of record. I do want to give a shout out to our kind of the unsung heroes here at VETRO, which are just amazing engineering and development teams. We've just got a really powerful group of people here who kind of behind the scenes are constantly pushing out these updates, these fixes to problems, ensuring this scalability and reliability of the system. So just really kudos to them for a lot of hard work over the last quarter and the last few months, because I'll kind of go over this, but we've got some really exciting stuff on the horizon here. So all this is kind of things we've been working on in Q1. The first thing I want to highlight is an improvement to workflows for managing large cables. So I'll again show a video here and kind of talk over it, and I might pause. So what I'm showing here is what everyone's really familiar with. It's our splicing diagram, and I'm at just a handhole, and I've got two pretty large cables. One's an 864 connected to some equipment, and one is just I think a 288. So obviously, in the traditional kind of splicing view in VETRO, you can scroll through here, you can understand the information, but it's always at a one-to-one cable relationship. To really understand what's happening here, you kind of have to toggle through and kind of scroll and try to figure out, okay, well, I need a section of availability. Like, where do I find that? How do I connect to it? So you can certainly use this to do that. It's not impossible. But what we were really trying to gain here is like a better understanding of your network and what's happening at these areas where you have lots of large cables merging and needing to kind of make these decisions. So what I'll transition to here in a second is what we've introduced, calling our summary view. So you can see now in the splice diagram, there's a drop down between the detailed and the summary view. I can toggle over to that summary view. And again, so now I'm looking at that same cable, but I'm seeing all the connectivity across multiple cables at that location. So this really is like an empowering view to me. It allows you to really understand what's going on, and also understand what's not connected if you need to make adjustments or extend a design or connect other cables. So it can be used as like kind of a QA tool to ensure that your connections meet your understanding. Like if you just look across the top there, you've got a fiber range, you've got the connected cable, and all this is in reference to the cable I'm showing in the drop down at the top. You can also toggle between cables just like you can in the other view and see the other information in a similar way. So it really gives you this kind of great breakdown of what's happening at this site. We also have ways to kind of drop down, as you can see here, so you can still see the strands. You can still, use like your strand inspector. We've even added like a disconnect all button there to, if you need to just do like kind of a mass disconnect on that section. You've got some filtering options if you want to just show, say the available sections of a cable, you can do that as well. So really, again, trying to empower the user with a better workflow for understanding your network here. What I'll go to next is what we've tagged this with is kind of a side-by-side, and it's really a build upon an existing tool that we released a few months back called the Quick Splice tool.
Mm.
So you can see there, I just clicked that connect button and it just takes that range of available fibers and it opens up, and this is a new modal for the Quick Splice tool. So previously it's pretty basic. It kind of had a flyout where you could kind of plug in a couple different ranges. But so we've really kind of tried to kind of enhance and expand upon that, and really design these two to be used together and interchangeably when you're doing these splicing workflows. So you can see I can easily kind of load in the start and the number of splices. I can move this around to get a better view. And then simply on the other cable, I can select a different cable if I wanted to, and I can just put in the start range and it will pre-populate everything for me. It is worth calling out that all those cells are tabular. So again, trying to give you kind of more hotkey functionality to kind of tab through and do this workflow. You can overwrite if you want to, which I highlighted there. You can switch through and select a different cable if you're more interested in that. And so here I'm just going to kind of build out like a splicing cut sheet. I've decided that I want to do two 144 sections across multiple cables so I can add this connection block, which allows me to even connect to a different cable at this site. So again, I don't have to just do this one-to-one splicing relationship that traditionally has been very kind of strand oriented. Now I can really designate large sections of these cables or these buffer tubes that I'm interested in, and build out these kind of splicing cut sheets and then really connect with a single action. And
There's
so,
a question. There's a couple questions real quick.
yeah.
So does the summary view of the splice diagram have an export option?
It does not yet. We have discussed that. I would love to understand kind of what you're looking to gain there. I do like that idea, but it's not something that we've implemented yet.
Okay. And the second one is there a way to change the count on cables to reflect actual fiber counts in the field?
I would need a little bit more information about what they mean there. I am familiar with, like, if they're talking about like cable complement, kind of the old, kind of more old school telecom way of tracking cable counts. No, I mean everything in VETRO is kind of, based off kind of the number and the fiber capacity and the splicing relationships there. So there's not, if I'm following that or understanding that correctly, I would say no.
Yes. We're going to put that question. If there's more detail you want to add there, please go ahead. And last question is, will there be a way to trace a single fiber from the strand inspector? They just haven't found an easy way to do a trace from an enclosure in the middle of a large fiber.
Um, there's maybe not from the strand inspector. That might be another one that we would need to dig in a little bit more on the use case and what they're trying to do.
Okay.
The strand inspector will show kind of the A to Z, but if they're looking for like a full trace, um, without like having a circuit there, that might be something that to dive into. But that's another kind of cool concept that we have been talking about. So yeah, maybe some follow up there.
Absolutely. Okay. What's next?
Next. All right, so wavelength division multiplexing. So this is something that we've had in VETRO. This isn't really a new necessary feature, or concept, we've had Muxed equipment, and we've been able to use it for some basic modeling like CWDM, coarse wavelength division multiplexing, but maybe had some inefficiencies in trying to model more complex technology here. So this was really for us about, understanding, what the limitations that existed were, where could we evolve and polish this up to make it more valuable for our customers. So that was really our focus with this, addressing these gaps and making improvements. So now you can leverage, multiple different channel sets for your different scenarios or different types of division multiplexing. This really allows you to kind of document that network reach and optimize that capacity that you have in the real world. You're able to accurately model and label your wavelengths, channels, and custom channel sets. So we're introducing kind of a dashboard view down that I'm showing down here, where you can, we have these predefined custom standards based off industry specs. But then you can copy those and you can clone them and you can change the labeling. One of the interesting parts about some of our research into this and where maybe we were falling short is like certain customers really care about the wavelength, certain really care about the channel. So we wanted to give kind of flexibility to let you track and document what you care about. And so this is obviously, opens up a lot of use case, whether it's the kind of the middle mile backhaul transport or, I was interested to learn a lot more about, customers using GPON and actually using some wavelength technology there to get service out to customers, through their networks. So, we've really tried to kind of have a broad kind of view of this, make sure you have kind of the flexibility, and then improve things like tracing and path editing, that people kind of tripped up on in the past. So again, just polishing the product here, making sure that we support all the different use cases. So this is one that, we're kind of reintroducing. I know a lot of customers maybe aren't documenting this type of information today. So if this is something where you have struggled to get it into VETRO, but you definitely want to have this type of information, the nice thing now is that that information kind of supersedes and goes throughout the product. So with tracing and things that we show the channels or the labels, and with circuits, you can see it in the tracing, which I'm showing in that top image. So really interested to hear about customers trying to do this. So be on the lookout for this one. Definitely reach out to your customer success managers or your account management team if this is something that you're interested, or your support or VETRO support. Because yeah, would love to understand kind of what you're trying to do. And again, we're trying to understand all the different scenarios. This is definitely more complicated technology that, but we know people are leveraging it in the real world.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of good depth there. We're running about 10 minutes. We've got 10 minutes left. So I know we have a couple of things to get through there, Will.
Yeah, I'll try to speed it up. Yeah, so this one, this is really a brand new concept, a brand new workflow that we're introducing. And it's probably more geared towards the middle mile or the transport dark fiber. But it's really about understanding routing options for very diverse paths and then identifying those paths for analysis. And so what we're calling this, and it's through the Fiber Manager tool, is our terminal trace, which enables kind of multi-path analysis. So now you're able to select a point of your network and kind of get a breakdown of, okay, here are the the potential paths and maybe the optimal paths that you want to take, and then let you filter and kind of lock down certain sections of those, or if you need to reroute it in a certain place, you can do that. So just it gives you a lot more answers to some of those complex questions about the fiber passing your network. And really, again, we're trying to help, if you need to do redundancy planning and things like this, or understand, or you have a customer asking for circuits, from A to Z, but they need to go through B somewhere, really giving you more information and flexibility to understand what your options are there with your existing network. So really excited about this one as well. But yeah, there's probably other applications to it. But yeah, we're excited to roll this thing out as well.
Okay.
And again, this is really, highlights our ability to leverage that intelligent network graph model, so we can kind of ask these types of questions.
And as we jump to the last one, availability of all these capabilities, what's the time frame?
Yeah, so we're working on kind of our release plans now. All this stuff I'd say is, targeted for this quarter, towards the end of the quarter for some of this stuff, and we're going to kind of space it out. So it's a little too early. I think the first one you saw will probably go first, and then so forth. So yeah, be on the lookout for this stuff over the next, 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay.
I think a realistic timeline. Um, so finally, really excited to announce that we're getting into light loss budgeting here at VETRO. This is something that we've heard a lot about over the years and been asked about, and again, I think it was about kind of waiting for the right time, being able to leverage that network graph to answer these types of questions and provide this type of information. Um, so, uh, what this does is it really allows you to see kind of the ideal state in its first version. So, we're also introducing the ability to document your different fiber types, which will play into the calculation for light loss. And so you can document, your single versus multi-mode and the spectral attenuation of those fibers, and then you can see, similar to like your custom cable color schemes that we rolled out last year, you can document that information. But more importantly, you're given a calculation based off a path in the system of the expected light loss based off the kind of industry standard criteria and calculations that we're doing behind the scenes. So this is really in this first version kind of about the baseline calculations for what you want or what you should expect. We do have a little bit of flexibility in there to kind of set some of your own values, like I said, with the fiber types. Um, but it's really about the kind of designed ideal state. And I think where we take this over time is kind of more towards the being able to enter in information about the real or measured state, by leveraging, the values that you're getting in the field. But again, this is, there will be more to come on this for sure. It's, we're really excited about this. But this is one that, we've definitely been seeing and gathering feedback on from our customers, and I think it's going to provide a lot of value, in its early versions, and then we'll obviously keep evolving it. Just helping again try to give you all that information to make your network design and decision making even more powerful and smarter and data driven.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing all that. I mean, it's a lot, and what I really love about your guys' approach is you're working with customers early on in terms of just learning more about how to refine and better define these capabilities. So if anyone's on and they're interested in any of the things that we've covered, from the Address Genius to some of the large cables to the later details, feel free to raise your hand, reach out to your account team. Will and gang are looking for partners to help refine this and get your hands on it early.
Yeah.
If you go to the next slide, right? So part of that is there's a lot. The platform continues to get more robust. We continue to add the ability to share that information with different stakeholders across the organization. So how do you stay on top of all that stuff, right? And so you'll see we just rolled out this platform certification. So it's a program that you and your teammates can subscribe to get the certified badge. You can, I think Victor is the name of the owl there.
Right.
Also the partners that you're working with. So if you have folks that are managing or working within the platform as part of it, this is a good way to ensure that they're up to speed with the latest and greatest and have some level of standard understanding of what's happening. So I invite you guys to take a look at the certification program. There's a lot of great stuff that our platform literacy team has put together, and I think it's really kind of just been an untapped resource. There is a question on the loss budgeting. If you want to handle that real quick before we jump on to wrap up. So will the loss budgeting include splitter loss for PON networks?
Yeah, that's one of, so yeah, so we're factoring in kind of the fiber cables, kind of standard attenuation across, specific wavelength, and then the connections, and then yeah, the splitters, based on kind of industry standards. So yes, it will factor in that type of information. And if customers have specific kind of edge cases or things that they need to track, that's something that we could also discuss. It was like how to get that type of information into the configuration, into the calculation.
The next question, I think, is a pretty obvious one. When will they be able to add actual OTDR readings? Um,
TBD on that. That is like in the roadmap. I don't have a firm timeline on that, but we do identify that as like a real critical need to kind of take this thing to the next level. So we will be working on that. But I don't have like a definitive timeline. That obviously, given where we are in the quarter, that I think that will be part of the Q2 goals for this, if I had to guess. But yeah, more to come on that, but that is certainly we've certainly identified that as kind of the next place to take this, is to be able to feed in that type of information.
yeah. There's a couple other questions about we kind of lit the curiosity on the light loss piece there. So the timing is still, sometime this quarter, but definitely let's reach out to your AMs to figure out when that's more realistically getting to your hands. Just to wrap up the certification, there is a fee per seat on the certification cost. Reach out to your AMs for that. I think it's a seat and a 90-day window to complete the certification. You can then go to the next slide there, Will.
Yep.
Also to accompany everything else that we have going on, we have more and more professional services capability that's available, right? So people that you can work with to help either jumpstart, kind of, or re-jumpstart your deployment to help get everybody up to speed and training if that's something that you're interested in, but also technical account management services. So this is just a reminder that we have a pretty robust staff that can help deploy some of these things and support the adoption of these capabilities across your organization. And then lastly, I know we're up to time, so I'm just going to jump to the end there. We're going to be on the road, right? So I know this is a quick high-level view from Will, who did a great job. Thank you, Will. But we are going to be probably in your neighborhood. These are all the things on the Q1 radar. We'll be featuring this stuff. A great opportunity to work with Will and gang to kind of get more detailed view of what's going on, but also that feedback, that exchange about what you're looking for and how we can refine our approach to meet your needs. And then on the other side, I'm just throwing out some of the articles that are available online to help anybody on your team that want to understand how we can help different use cases. Feel free to take a look at that. So I think that gets us to time. There's a couple questions that I'm going to leave to be followed up by the account management team, so we're going to get distracted there. But hey, Will, thank you to the amazing team, the engineering folks. You guys continue to pump out some really game-changing stuff for us and for our customers, and thank you for all that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my pleasure to join, and always excited to kind of announce some of this stuff, and really excited to get it in our customers' hands. And I know it's going to provide a lot of value. So thanks, Pete. Always a pleasure to join.
Yep. And thanks again for everybody taking your time out. I know you guys are super busy. The recording will be available in the next day or so. You'll get an email, be able to share that around internally. If you have any questions, you can reach out directly to us. I would start with the account management team or your customer support team. And we're happy to make sure everybody's got the information they need on all this great stuff. So thanks again for your time. Thanks for being a customer, and everybody have a great day. Thanks.